Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Robert Budd Show. It is December 31st, 2017, and this episode is a wrap-up episode from the past year, from 2017. This is my 20th show, and I couldn't have expected the results that happened, even if in my wildest dreams. So I started out this year not sure if I was going to continue doing the podcasting or not. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to continue. And the results, the show results, the downloads and whatnot showed that I should continue. So I kept getting downloads and requests and people wanting to be on the show. And so I continued doing the show this year, and I'm so glad I did. And so out of those 20 shows, I'm going to go over the things that I got the most out of the top 5 downloaded shows of 2017. So I am sitting here in my bedroom toasting to this year, and it's about, it's actually 11:30 a.m. I'm having a little bit of wine and out of a glass that I got while I was in New Zealand. So that's just a little glimpse of how wonderful my life was this year. I got to go to New Zealand. So before I start, I'm going to have a little sip. It's good stuff. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go from 5 to 1. So the 5th most downloaded show was Sarah Simonetti, and out of that show, I really got Sarah's passion for contributing to young women, and it spoke a lot for me because I'm committed to empowering young men and being a mentor myself and doing different mentor programs. Sarah saying that she wanted to do the same was really touching, to say the least, and knowing what it's like to, from her, knowing what it's like to be a single mom going through single mom stuff and how she ends up kind of downloading herself in the end of the night. So it's so funny what she said about going and having a shower with a glass of wine or something like that. You know, having wine in the shower, locking the door, telling the kids it's do not disturb unless the house is on fire or somebody's bloody. That just cracked me up. I can just imagine her doing that, and I can imagine thousands of other moms, especially single moms, doing the same thing. I'm locking the door, I'm sitting in the bathtub, I'm having a glass of wine, do not disturb unless it's an absolute emergency. And it's just so great. It just shows what kind of commitment it requires to be a mom. I know she goes and goes and goes all day, and it's for her kids. You know, of course it's for her and to pay the bills and to have her career advance in whatever field she's in, and to give. And the end of the night, end of the day, she's like, okay, it's my turn. I need to give back to myself. I need some wine. I need some chocolate. I need a warm bath. Anyway, Sarah's so great, and the amount of effort she puts into her workouts, into her clients, and just setting up her kids' future, working out, relationships, and with people. I mean, she took over a couple of my clients when I went out of town this year and did a fantastic job. I had no reservations in having her look after a couple of my favorite peeps. So anyways, that's Sarah Simonetti. She got a boatload of downloads. People really dug her interviews or her interview. So the next one up, who got the top 4 of the downloads is Chip Martoccia. Hopefully I said that last name right. Hey, Chip, if you're listening, hopefully I got your last name right. Chip is a go-getter, fire breather that I know from Nakoa Fitness and Physical Therapy in Carlsbad. I coach the kettlebell class that he comes to, and he's always a rock star, whether it's pretty funny because what he's not good at, it really frustrates the crap out of him, which it does the same for me too. Frustrates the shit out of me when I can't do something or can't do something well. It really irritates me, and this just drives me to do it better. So one of those things that bugs the crap out of him is doing pistols, which I know. And I do when he's in class because I know it irritates him and I know he wants to get better. He's irritated because he wants to be better at them. And part of the reason is because he got his hip redone a couple of years ago and it just it's not as mobile and I don't know, it just doesn't work as well, I guess. But anyways, Chip is a badass. I really admire him and the company he's built. He is the president of Endo Boards, and it's a fabulously company that's just going apeshit wild. I mean, they're doing really good. They're super successful. What I wanted to say is fabulously successful. Man, I can't spit that word out. Maybe I need more wine. Hold on a second. That's pretty good. Fabulously. Damn, still can't get it right. Anyways, so Chip, what he was saying about his son and encouraging his son just to develop anything, being an entrepreneur wise, just he was telling his son, hey, just if you have an idea, just come to me with it about anything, whatever it is. Like Tim Ferriss calls it scratching your own itch. If you see something that you want in the world, a product, a project, an idea, whatever, develop it, do it yourself, scratch your own itch. And so that's what Chip is encouraging his son to do. And he's like, look, you come to me with some project and we'll do it. And he's an entrepreneur at heart. He knows how to build a business. So who better to go to than your dad, who can actually bring whatever idea you have into the world. I thought that was really cool. And just his, athletic background where he put in the work. That's another thing he said is, how do you get better? You just put in the work. You just got to do the work. And you don't take anything for granted. You don't take being athletic for granted. You don't take being in a certain situation or demographic or whatever. You go in and you do the work, and it carries over to school, to athletics, to your job, whatever it is. Just go in, do the work, and that's how you're going to succeed. So anyways, that was Chip. And so the next one, that's what I got from Chip. The next one, the most downloaded, number 3, is Brandon Glade. So y'all just need to go back and listen to Brandon's podcast because he is, it's the first thing that pops into my mind is a wild man. He is, he's just a kook. He's crazy. The amount of energy and passion this guy puts into his life is off the charts. And he steps into a room and it's just like go time. Brandon has definitely had his ups and downs. I really highly recommend going back and listening to this episode, hearing about his journey of being a young athlete and becoming a pro skater, getting into drugs and alcohol, ending badly, getting put in jail and prison, getting out, getting addicted to heroin. I mean, it's like one thing after another. But what I really got out of that is perseverance. So no matter what happens, there's always tomorrow. There's always another day to better yourself, to lean on your spirituality, to don't say, look back at the future or look back at the past and like, this is just how my life is. This is how I turned out. I'm just a screw up, or I failed, or I can't do it just because of the past things that we've done. He just showed me and is a model of carpe diem, make every day count, give it all you got, live life to the fullest, have passion, have faith, have something to believe in, something that's bigger than yourself, and give back. Brandon was generous enough to give a day of his life, of his time, to the mentor program that I developed called Men on Fire this year. And he was a huge part of that day for the young entrepreneurs and for the other guys involved, the other entrepreneurs involved. It was very generous of him to share his story, and it's very generous of him to share his story to others in the community here in Carlsbad. He's a Carlsbad resident, always has been, born and raised. He gives back to guys who are in prison, who are just getting out of prison, to his AA group. He's recovering drug and alcoholic, and it's just what he does for his community, and just the freaking passion. I mean, I just can't say it enough. Just the passion that this guy exudes. It tires me out. I don't know how else to put it. But anyways, that's Brandon. Go back, listen to his show, Brandon Glade. The number 2 download was Lance Winsaft. And Lance and I go back to a point of my life where I could say I was not as transformed. I met him in a landmark program that was a leadership program. It's called the Introduction Leaders Program, and he was my coach, my head coach. So he was I don't know, I guess you could say he was my teacher, right? And he called me out on some shit that I was just kind of a bull in a china shop with my relationships, especially relationships with women. And so he really pointed out and put a spotlight on what kind of a mess I was making, and I can't thank him enough for that, because since then, my relationships with the women in my life, my mom, my sister, my wife, my ex-wife, ex-girlfriends, it's so much better. I mean, I completed a ton of stuff in my life. I have really healthy relationships with women now, and he was the source of that. So in his podcast, it was really interesting to find out his spiritual path and the meanings behind his tattoos. He's got some tattoos on his body. The one that interests me the most is the beetle that's on his chest, and he described the beetle and the history of the beetle, and it was the beetle that he's got on his chest is the one that the Egyptians would use, and it's got 7 different plates on it, and each plate has a different meaning, and he went into that. I can't remember all of it that he went through, but he put it on that part of his chest for one to remind him, and it's super sensitive, so it was painful to put it there, so it was a little bit of a lesson, and that he can see it right there on his chest, and of course he's got something written above it, and you're just going to have to go back and listen to his podcast, Lance Winsaft, to find out what he's got written on his chest. Also, with Lance, he's a really successful entrepreneur. He's got I was going to say hedge fund. He doesn't have a hedge fund. He has a headhunting business where he finds, sure all y'all know what a headhunting business is. He finds people, recruits to fill positions in companies. So companies call him, find out who's out there for hire, and Lance goes and finds them. So I would say that's a tremendous amount of pressure, because it's almost like you're referring somebody and to another company. It's like of course your name is on the line. I don't know. It just sounds like super stressful to me. So Lance, he has a background of martial arts, which we talked about, which is very interesting. We've got a similar background, but he grew up in a family. His mom was very spiritual and might be called woo-woo in these days, but started out, and his grandfather, so he grew up in a very spiritual family, / religious family, which was really interesting. I highly suggest go back and listen to Lance's interview. So going on to the number one most downloaded episode of the year is Michael Castrogiovoni. And I just cannot say enough about this guy. Michael is one of my most favorite human beings ever. What interested me to do the podcast with Michael, I learned so much about Michael. And the one thing that he said before we started, had me ask him to do the podcast was he doesn't have a schedule. And if anybody knows me, they know that my whole day is scheduled. So I've got appointments with clients. I get up the same time every day. I am so structured. If somebody wanted to find me at a certain point of the day, I pretty much do the same thing every day. They could find me. And Michael is the exact opposite. He does not have a schedule. Some would say that he kind of flies by the seat of his pants, but what he said is that he has tried the schedule. He's done the corporate gig, and he found that if he's scheduled, then it doesn't allow him to be open for when he gets signs, spiritual signs or signs from God or, answers to prayers to follow. So if he's so scheduled every day, it boxes him in. It doesn't allow him to follow like thoughts, intuition, stuff like that. He said it way better than I'm generating it. And another thing what interests me about Michael was his stint at the monastery and how he got into like his path of spirituality. He only stayed on the monastery about 6 months, but he got a real taste of what it's like to be a monk. And they actually asked him to stay and take on the monkhood. I don't know exactly what that's called, but to be a monk. And he turned it down and went on his way. But this guy, he wears a hat that says love, and that pretty much sums it up. Michael has so much love for people that it's almost impossible to be around him. I think it is impossible to be around him and not feel the love, that the actual love that human beings could share. It's what's possible, the love that's possible to share. Michael has, and he started a program called Kettlebell Partner Passing, and I know him through doing kettlebells. And this partner passing is anything but kettlebells. And I say that because there's obviously kettlebells involved, and you pass a kettlebell in between two people. But what you feel from doing this partner passing is true connectivity. Connectivity with the other person. You communicate. I say it's anything but kettlebells because kettlebells to me is very, it's like self-centered. It's for me. I'm doing it by myself. I could do it by myself. If you're in a class, you're obviously with people, but everything you do, it's your time to practice kettlebells. You don't have anybody else really interacting with you while you're swinging the bell around. But this partner passing is just the opposite of that. You have somebody in front of you that you're passing this bell to, that you're taking care of, that you're communicating with, that you're connecting with, that you want to succeed. It's the most unselfish thing that unselfish activity, I guess, that I've experienced in a long time. So when you're passing this kettlebell, of course you take a pass from somebody and you swing it back, but the energy and the thoughts and the intention behind that swing is to connect with somebody else, is to take care of them. Make sure you don't pass it so that you hurt them. And it's what society could be. It's the possibility of what human humans could be. And that's what I love the most about it. It's the possibility of love between everybody. And the people that I've met while doing this partner passing, and even people that I've known that I've asked to do this partner passing, we've grown so much closer together by doing this. And if you haven't done it, you may think, most of you probably have not done it, may think that it's just the silliest thing. That how could passing a kettlebell, a hunk of iron between two people, sometimes a very heavy hunk of iron, between two people could do all of this. But you have to experience it to really get the whole thing. And so Michael had done it years ago, probably, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, something like that. And he says it just wasn't the same. He just didn't have the same amount of intentionality or the intention behind it. It was literally passing a bell, passing a hunk of iron in between two people. And there was more of an ego to it. Now he's grown so much, and part of it is his spirituality, the people that he's been around, the losses in his life that we go over in the interview, that has this partner passing go to another level, the other level of, like I said, what humanity could be. It's the possibility of what humanity could be. So anyways, I can't say enough about Michael, and his podcast, his interview blew up. It was, I don't know, probably a month before I did this, I was probably getting maybe 20 people, 20 listeners. Michael's got over 400. I think it got over 500 in like a day or something like that. It's crazy. So anyways, it's the highest listened to show that I had this year. A couple other things to wrap up what I've gotten out of these podcasts is, for one, is that from Michael, is not to have myself so scheduled that I don't leave room for miracles. And what I mean by that is not to have every second of the day scheduled so I can leave room for a miracle to happen. And miracles have happened. I've met some amazing people. I've had some really great time to myself. I started taking a walk every morning for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And I walk to an overlooks the ocean by my house, and I do some breathing techniques who I learned from, his name is Chris Law, and he's a local instructor here in, he's a mentor, he's a youth mentor here in Encinitas. Chris Law, awesome guy. And so I learned some breathing techniques that I do every morning with him. I do some joint mobility that I learned from Mike LaRocca. He was also on my podcast. And I also do it's called Foundations, and it's a breathing technique where you open up your rib cage and it works on your posture that I also learned from Mike LaRocca. So I do that every morning. Mike and Michael have both influenced me to do that. And I worked less this year. I made about the same, maybe a little less, but I worked a lot less. So the time that I worked was quality, and I really set out this year to take care of the clients that I've had for years. And instead of hustling to get someone else, to get people to work out with me, it almost felt like I was just trying to get one, and it didn't feel good to me. So this year, what I set out was to really pay full attention and to give everything I've got to the clients that I've had the previous years. And I think I did pretty good. I think they had extraordinary breakthroughs and different breakthroughs in their strength and mental fortitude, and it helped me. And also, I think purposely, I wanted my wife to really expand her business, and me working less kind of forged her to work more. And I was really able to support her and build her business. And I really got that from Brandon. So the tiblets that I got from Brandon is really supporting others and what they're up to, and be less about yourself. And the previous year, I was really about building the business and almost like to prove to myself and to others that I could build the business up. And this last year, 2017, I was all about the clients, and it worked out great. So, yeah, let's see what else. More wrap up that I did. Another thing was to take time off. I took almost the entire month of December off. We left on vacation on day before Thanksgiving. I think that was the 21st or 22nd of November, something like that. Came back December 13th, so that was 3 weeks, and I had never done that before. And what that took to go on that vacation and not be stressed and not be worried about finances and all that, I got from a couple of podcasters that I listen to. One is Dave Ramsey. Listen to him a bunch this year. And of course, Tim Ferriss. And both of them have given me tools to be able to go on vacation, take care of business, work on finances. We paid for the entire thing with cash, didn't put any of it on a credit card. And so we did not go into debt by doing this. And I can speak for myself. My wife and I both went. I had an extraordinary experience, and I'm going to sip out of the glass I got from New Zealand. Hold on a second. It's yummy. All right. And so I had an extraordinary experience. I went to Fiji. The first experience I had in Fiji it's a third world country. And I've never experienced a third world country and lived, been just like in the fold of a family in a third world country. So I wouldn't say Fiji itself, but we went to a small island that they don't have any running water. They don't have electricity. They don't have necessary flushing toilets. The flushing toilets get flushed once a day. So they cook off of gas. It's almost like camping, but they live on this island, right? And what I learned is, or what I saw and I experienced, is the amount of joy and happiness that they have with their relatives, the people that live around them, their daily chores, their daily activities, and what they were able to give to us while we were there. Just really experienced the Fijian life, it's Fiji time, was extraordinary. So, and they all had cell phones, which is crazy. I don't know how they do this. So they don't have, electricity and running water, but they have cell phones. Don't ask me how they do that. So I learned that having less and doing less was giving them more in their life, giving them more time to experience the people that are around them. And I'm really going to take that on this year, is not necessarily doing more, but I'm going to take what I got from this year and not add to it. I'm not necessarily going to add, more books, read more stuff, do more, but I'm going to take what I got out of this year and expand on it, expand my life on top of that. I will be doing some self-development courses this year coming up, and it's not going to be more. So also what I took on this year is spirituality. We went to church every Sunday, and Brandon was a big influencer in that, as in I was already going, but so he doesn't go to necessarily a church, but he practices his spirituality. So I took on not having to go somewhere to express it. So I'm sure you've heard the saying, go to church on Sunday and sin on Monday. I'm not, Brandon really walks the walk. He is 7 days a week, his faith. And And so I'm taking that on. I'm not, you got to walk the walk. I'm going to take on walking the walk and being the spiritual being that I know I am and I want to be, and not necessarily because I go somewhere and practice it. So that's what else I took on. Besides that, I just really want to thank all of you out there who listen consistently, who send in questions, who ask me, give me feedback, who ask me to have different people on the show, who give me ideas to have people on the show. That's really, really helpful, because sometimes I just run out of people to invite. And of course, I've got hundreds of people around me that I can interview, but those that I actually don't know. I really just got a ton out of doing the show, and I'm going to continue. My intention is to continue through 2018 and just keep building the show. And those who listen and keep giving feedback, I really, really appreciate you. And the highest form of compliment is to share it with somebody else and to subscribe. So if you feel moved to do so, please do that. And hopefully this episode was beneficial to you, and hopefully all of them are beneficial to you. So with that being said, I love you all. Take care. Happy New Year. Another one thing I just want to say is what I did this year and I did not do last year is I completed this year. I went through my calendar and I wrote down events that happened to me throughout the year. Everything from, filming different things for work, expanding. I did a couple other work projects, the places where I volunteered, the personal development projects that I did, business trips. I was a minister twice this year. I married 2 couples this year, which is awesome. I'm going to expand on that next year. And in the travel that I did. So I just completed all of that. I collaged it. I put it down on paper. I was able to see it and found a really great quote that says, "We will be known forever by the tracks we leave." And it's a Native American proverb. And then after I completed collaged this year, what happened this year, I really felt a sense of completeness also. Like I completed the year. My wife and I collaged for next year. We cut out photos out of magazines of what we'd like to accomplish in 2018. And it's up on our wall. So I didn't do that last year. And I did have 2 pictures that I put up on a collage last year. One was of Tim Ferriss, and I wanted to do more podcasting, which I did. And one was of a singer, and I took singing lessons this year. So it was 2 things that I actually had up there I completed. So I figured, well, if I have 40 now, or I don't know, 20, I don't even know how many pictures I have there, maybe 25, 30. If I have that many up on this collage, then I'll complete that many projects this year. So anyways, that being said, I love you. And have a beautiful end of this year, and I can't wait to hear about this year coming up. And if you have any kind of feedback, I can always get a hold of. You can get a hold of me on the socials. robertbudd.net is my website. And anyways, I love you, and take care, and we'll see you next year. Hey y'all, one more thing before you all take off is if you would like a very short email from me once a month, go on my website, robertbudd.net, and you scroll down to the second fold in the website and it says subscribe. You just drop your email in there. It is not a newsletter. I do not send out newsletters. It's just a short email of a couple of the things that I have dug up throughout the month and that I want to share with you. Also, you can check out the other podcasts also on my website. If you go to robertbudd.net/podcast, and you can find all the other podcasts that I have on there. And with that being said, love you tons, and see you next year.